I have never watched Rebels, Clone Wars, or any of the animated shows where these characters originated from. This show is really my first experience with Ahsoka Tano, Sabine Wren, Ezra Bridger, Grand Admiral Thrawn, etc. And I wanted to take that outsider, novice approach to this show because I wanted to see if this show can stand on its own 2 feet and not rely on 5, 6, 7, 8, how many seasons of animated shows there were for you to understand this one. And does it stand on its own 2 feet? Yeah, actually it does. There are subtleties and nuances that went completely over my head, absolutely. But it never got in the way of whatever story they were trying to tell. I really looked at this as just a new Star Wars show with a new batch of characters, and just on that basic level, it worked fairly well. Well, actually, my introduction to Ahsoka Tano was that episode of Mandalorian Season 2, which might still be my favourite episode of The Mandalorian because of how insanely awesome it was because of Ahsoka Tano. And even after that episode, I was like, give that character a spin-off right now. And I once again liked her character very much in this show. She carries the whole thing pretty much. There was also quite a few more lightsaber fights than I expected. For whatever reason, I just expected them to be really limited on the lightsaber duels across 8 episodes. I was thinking 3, maybe. But I'd say almost every episode, there was at least one lightsaber fight. And all of them I thought were pretty good. The choreography was good, the scenery where the lightsaber fights took place in were quite good, and I was fairly entertained for the majority of Ahsoka, but I will say the first episode and a half, very, very shaky. After episode 1, I was really hoping for it to get better because there were a lot of stuff in that first episode that just reminded me of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett. Just these really strange, baffling writing choices and directing choices that I was just like, why was that done that way? And then from the end of episode 2 onwards, the writing gets a little bit more competent for the most part, and it becomes an entertaining enough Star Wars show from then until the end. It's not my favourite Disney Plus Star Wars show, it's not my least favourite Disney Plus Star Wars show. I would put Ahsoka above Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. When it comes to the Disney Plus shows, it's either not enough episodes or too many episodes. And in the case of Ahsoka, I just look at the plot from beginning to end, and I think to myself, that easily could have been a film. And a lot of it does feel a bit elongated. I mean, the last 3 episodes, 6, 7, and 8, do kind of feel like one big third act of a feature film, just, again, stretched over 3 episodes. But outside of the structure, I feel like the biggest annoyance with this show for me is that it feels like yet another stepping stone project, something that exists purely to set up the next thing that's coming out. The entire show just kind of feels like one big drum roll, but you just never get to the tsh. That irritated me a little bit. And I'm okay with shows and films setting up other shows and films, just not at the expense of that show and film. The show and film needs to have a great, compelling story of its own that then just leads into the next thing. But I just didn't really get that with Ahsoka, but not to as detrimental of an effect as I've seen with previous shows and previous films. When it comes to these stepping stone projects, this is one of the more entertaining ones because of all those lightsaber fights and some of the new lore they explore and the character development of Ahsoka Tano. There is a good amount of entertainment value in Ahsoka, and I do want to see more of these characters, especially Grand Admiral Thrawn. That dude was business. I loved how cunning he was, how tactical he was, how smart he was. He was always 2 steps ahead of everybody. He could be the next iconic Star Wars villain. And I say that again as somebody who's never experienced this character before, because for some people, he already is an iconic Star Wars villain. I think you'll get more appreciation out of this show if you've seen Rebels and Clone Wars and all the animated stuff. And I stress think, because for all I know, maybe the show completely butchers the characters. I have absolutely no idea. But just as an outsider who has never seen that stuff and watched this as a standalone thing, it was an entertaining, albeit not entirely fulfilling Star Wars adventure. But I have seen worse on Disney Plus.